Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Honorable Principal and Chairperson IQAC, Dr. Sister Jyoti, Honorable Vice Principal, Sister Shobha, Honorable Resource Person for the session, Dr. Kirti Avishek, highly esteemed guests, IQAC Coordinator, Dr. Emma Seraphim, CP Coordinator, Dr. Debjani Roy, and all my dear colleagues. I extend a warm welcome to all of you on this final session of the 3-day Faculty Enrichment Program sponsored under UGC CPE scheme on COVID-19 and life beyond challenges and issues. A warm welcome to all of you. The usual instructions are the same as it had been earlier, so kindly follow the norms. Please stay muted, audio and video both, and rest of the instructions are the same as usual. So we have been following various articles, and so far we have been following so many sessions so far, and it has been a really enriching experience for all of us, I hope. Let us move ahead to our final session now. And as we know that we have been following various articles being regularly published on environmental causes and environmental impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. While the origin of the outbreak and its transmission pathway are yet to be asserted, the world continues to see destruction of environment by human activities. From a socio-economic environmental perspective, how much has the current global health crisis affected us? Is nature sending us a message with this coronavirus pandemic? Let us try to find out the answers to some of these questions from our expert of this session so that our focus can be shifted from mere discussions on platforms like this to finding solutions to ensure a long-term sustainability on this planet. May I now request our respected IQAC coordinator and head, Department of Zoology, Dr. Emma Seraphim, to kindly introduce our speaker for the session. Dr. Emma.
Thank you, Dr. Shri Rupa. Respected Principal, Nirmala College, Dr. Sister Jyoti. Respected Vice Principal, Nirmala College, Sister Shobha. Respected CPE Coordinator, Dr. Deroy. Honorable Resource Person, Dr. Kirti Avishek, and dear participants, a very warm good afternoon. This is the 6th and last session of the 3-day Faculty Enrichment Program. We have with us Dr. Kirti Avishek, Assistant Professor in the Department of Civil and Environment Engineering, BIT Mesra, Ranchi. He has 2 master's degree in Environment Science and Remote Sensing. He has won the Young International Scientist Award from the Chinese Academy of Science in 2011, while pursuing his postdoctoral from IEMP, United Nations Environment Program. He has received the Excellence Award in Environmental Science from Indo-Global Chambers of Commerce. He has to his achievement various projects from IWMI Sri Lanka, UNICEF, Adani Group, Tata Trust, etc. His areas of interest are topsoil management, carbon management, wetlands, climatic variations, and GIS. He is a lead auditor for IAS 14,000, EMS, and 18,000 OHSAS. He is a passionate environmentalist and is here to share his thoughts and knowledge on COVID-19, environmental challenges, and sustainability. On behalf of the Principal and IQAC Chairperson, Nirmala College, Dr. Sister Jyoti, as well as on behalf of entire IQAC team, I welcome Dr. Kirti Avishek and request him to start his presentation. Over to Dr. Kirti Avishek.
Very good afternoon to Sister Jyoti, Principal Nirmala, and Dr. Emma, Vice Principal Sister Shobha, then Mrs. Roy, Dr. Roy, Dr. Devjani Roy, and all respected colleagues who are present in this online session and sharing their time. And it's basically not warm now, it's almost rainy. So I hope there's no internet connectivity or some issues coming up in between. I had some issues in the morning first, but we went for a trial run of the whole Zoom app. So it's working. Thank you so much for the entire Nirmala College fraternity who has given me this opportunity to share my thoughts, my entire perspectives on what may be done in this aspects of COVID-19 20 now. So I'll be starting my presentation and sharing my screen. I need to the host screen
Yes,
sharing.
you have an access now, sir.
Okay. I hope the slides are visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So, as I'm aware that this is the last and concluding session of your 3 days workshop. So, I will be speaking upon the environmental challenge and sustainability with respect to the COVID scenario. And since February to 2020, I think we all have heard a lot of COVID and the COVID figures, how the things are changing. And in fact, at times, things are also very pessimistic because we hear a lot of these things coming up every day in the news channels or newspapers. And I personally try to avoid the statistics that come up every day in the newspaper because somehow being a social animal, it affects us too equally when we listen to so many different kinds of death rates and infections going on globally. But on the other hand, it's also important to be staying connected with the knowledge and try to share it in these such platforms which has been taken up by Nirmala College, and I really appreciate and thank them. So let me go to the first slide. When we talk about environment, the most important definition that we have been learning since childhood is anything that surrounds us and has effect on us. And this is most easy definitions of environment. And if you go by the technical definition of environment, it also says a sum total of biotic and the abiotic factors that surround us and has effect on us. And to my knowledge and to my belief, we always had this thing like we need to have more biotic factors on us. But maybe the scenario has changed, and since we are surrounded by some kind of abiotic factor which is invisible and harms a lot, so at times we need to have a balance between both abiotic and abiotic factors together to have achieve complete sustainability. So it's not only to have abiotic factor or biotic factor, but a balance is important in the current area. When we deal about sustainability, the definition is utilization of a resource. But this COVID scenario, quite a different perspective is coming up when old, young, middle-aged, everyone is getting affected by COVID. And initially, aged people are getting more affected, but now we see like even young children of 13 years old, 14 years old are getting affected severely by this disease. So somehow the entire question of sustainability is at stake. And at these moments of difficulty, we need to understand what is going wrong and how things need to be balanced. Obviously, we initially we started the experiences from the month of March when we had this entire lockdown began on 22nd March. So some of us, in fact, most of us were quite happy that at least we have some break and we may be working from home and having a very good balance of life between domestic and professional, which at times gets affected when we go to our workplace. But working from home maybe after a month seemed more difficult as compared to work from office, because at least in the office you are unidirectional, whereas in home you are multi-directional and you have to have a balance with so many different aspects of your life. So my entire presentation is focused upon two different perspectives of balancing and maybe your idea or idea sharing also. Let me see how things have improved during lockdown and what have been the positive aspects. And these are some news clippings that I have taken from internet sources, and all these materials are from either Times of India or the Hindu, BBC News. So all of these information that I'm sharing with you are based upon internet sources from newspapers and some journal publications. And none of them are my own, but I will be giving my own perspectives on them. Let us start with the first improvement that the limelight on April, which highlighted that there was a pollution in New Delhi, and that almost 79% of the pollution has gone down in Delhi city, which is prone to so high amount of particulate matters. And almost the entire Indo-Gangetic plain also witnessed a reduction in particulate matters by 50%. And the similar cases were as high as 75% from Delhi, Bihar, West Bengal. So,
Excuse me, Dr. Avishek. Sorry to interrupt you.
yes.
Your voice is breaking. Hello.
Okay.
Yeah. May I suggest you something? If you could just turn off your video and be only on audio mode along with the presentation, maybe
Fine.
that can help a bit. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Audible now?
Yes, audible.
Okay. So I was just discussing, like we all have different perspectives of how the air pollution went down, and different cities have given statistics of the reduction in air concentrations with respect to particulate matters. And in fact, since the vehicular movement was controlled, so most of the greenhouse gases were also reduced. So one of the major aspects of health which came up with reduction of air pollution and different states, different ranges of studies. Even with respect to water, a similar kind of study was observed, and like which is a magazine which comes from the Center for Science and Environment in New Delhi, it stated that whether COVID-19 is appearing to be ventilators forever. And if you remember, we had a lot of WhatsApp video and Facebook videos showing how Yamuna is getting clean since around Yamuna River was locked down and no effluent was being discharged. So Yamuna, Ganges observed a cleaning, self-cleansing movement in itself. And in respect to treatment, when we say water treatment, self-cleaning in a river. And one of the reasons why rivers were taken up as a sink for waste was since it's the flowing media. So any kind of contaminants which is dispersed into them will finally get diluted. And this dilution will result in reduction of the entire pollution load. But with time, as the river shrank, the concentration of contaminants increased, so the flow velocity reduced, and resulting in a lot of harmful effects on the ecosystem, species, and health of human beings. So this lockdown also witnessed the cleaning of major rivers of India. And if you see, I'm also sharing one information about a paper from Iran which stated how COVID-19 was also effective in reducing the lake water pollution in Iran, and this work has also been published. So, in fact, ever since COVID outbreak, many scientists have been working on different aspects of environment and have been publishing papers on how things have improved. So, a very interesting aspect of how air is getting clean, how water is getting clean, and I think we are not unaware of these things. Each one of us has witnessed such kind of an issue, maybe in a smaller scale or in a larger scale, depending upon our exposures. In fact, the third aspect was garbage, which showed that 10% to 40% of reduction was observed in India from different cities. And like a study which showed that almost in Nagpur, 10.87% of reduction in garbage was observed, whereas in Ahmedabad, almost a reduction of 40% was observed. So amount of waste being generated was reduced. So in this, I have my own personal experience also. Since we were handling the home and domestic affairs too. So I think most of us might have realized that the amount of waste that we generated when our mates were not there were much lesser as compared to when they were here. Maybe we were dependent on them and resulting in more waste generation. But during the lockdown period, I remember at least the dustbin that I had was getting filled after every 2 or 3 days, which was almost daily when before lockdown. So maybe many of us were taking care of the resources to use them adequately, to utilize them, to reuse them. So I think many aspects of sustainability came up when we were in the lockdown period because of coronavirus. And I think many of you might be having the same experience. So maybe at the mid of the session, maybe you can just drop some messages on the Zoom chat box. So maybe at the end we can just have small sharing of information. And this was also very interesting aspects of how animals were moving around cities since we left the cities open for them. So very interesting aspects of wild animals coming up to the streets. And this is a small example from Europe. Kind of studies from Uttarakhand, where a lot of peacocks observed. In Rajasthan, where tigers were moving inside the city areas. And in my I stay in Tripodana, which is almost a bit of outskirts of Ranchi city. And just next to my house is a big lake. And I observed some unique birds in my surroundings, and they were moving around in the wetland. But once I observed them inside my house and
Excuse me for the inconvenience. I feel Dr. Avishek has just got disconnected. The network is not working properly on his end. Maybe we'll try to reconnect with him. Dr. Avishek, are you there? Dr. Avishek, kindly unmute yourself.
am I audible now?
Yes. Yes, you
Okay.
are.
Okay. So I was maybe I might have skipped something. If, is the slide visible?
Yes, it is visible, sir.
Okay. So in this slide, if you see, this is the case of Mumbai, where a deer crashed into a house on May 11th and later was rescued by the forest officers. So very interesting aspects of how wildlife came close to human beings in our societies. Maybe the lack of fear of our human interference was the cause over here. So many interesting aspects coming up, and we were actually delighted to see them close by. And this specific lockdown also gave us a very nice time frame to realize what we were missing in the developing scenarios. The competitive developing scenario has resulted in so much of competitions that maybe we are in a rush to achieve many things, and at a time we miss out some basic of natures and our true self. So personally, I feel maybe I got connected with the nature back when I saw different bird species coming around my house. They're sitting there and I'm feeding them. So nice, very nice perspective was observed. And same similar might have been in your cases also. My next slide focuses upon sustainability of oceans. And if we see a slump in the shipping traffic was observed in the Indian Ocean region across the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal and the Indian Oceans. So this was documented by the Pune Maritime Research Center, which stated that even the oceans are now comparatively free of pollution and traffic load, and thus the noise level has reduced. So there has been a reduction in noise level from 10 decibel to almost 73 decibels in the month of May. So all the way from air, water, noise, solid waste, we have different areas in which sustainability was observed. And my next one is on industry focus. And this work was conducted by from the Institute of ISM Dhanbad. And they were studying on the different effects of the lockdown on the quarrying sites. And they also observed a reduction in noise level, which was quite obvious when the industries are locked down, so the noise level will go down. So it reduced from 85 decibel acoustics to 55 decibel acoustics. But something interesting observed was the surface temperature also got reduced by 3 to 5 degrees centigrade. What was interesting was they have estimated that the surface temperature across the quarrying and the crushing areas reduced by 3 to 5 degrees centigrade. And this is very interesting because such reduction in temperatures will have a lot of effect on the microclimate of the region. So different studies have shown very positive aspects of lockdown. But it's very sad that we cannot continue in this pattern because survival is important, economics is important, so livelihood is important. Keeping all these in mind, we need to have a way out to find a balance between all these aspects. Maybe if you have any experiences, you can share them in the chat box. And later at the end, we can have some time out to discuss. I have just shared my perspectives on all these aspects of how air, water, noise, solid waste has reduced because of this lockdown, which are some of the positive aspects of COVID-19. But it also raises questions on our sustainability, being the exposure of some kind of harmful viruses that has circulated, and in the in these in this scientific community, how we need to have a balance of all these multifarious dimensions. So let us see now the negative aspects that has come up with environment. We have read a lot of good things in the newspapers, but when you go through different news medias and different scientific reports, we see different aspects of environment which is being at risk. For example, to cope up with the economy, US has now lowered the vehicle emission standards. The moment we reduce the vehicle emission standards, the emissions of the greenhouse gases and the vehicular pollutants will be on rise. Now, this will again have a negative aspects in a shorter term. So all the balancing effect of the COVID-19 lockdown, which has occurred in 3 to 4 months, may have a negative aspects within 3 to 4 months again if the vehicular emission standards are reduced. And this was primarily done to boost the economy so that people are encouraged to use their vehicles, people are encouraged to have more movements. So for entire totality of whether it is tourism or diesel, gasoline. So to boost all their economies, these aspects were done. Now, this could result in an increased gasoline consumption by 80 billion tons and resulting in an increased carbon emission into the atmosphere. So all the hard work that the different countries have done to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions in last 10 decades may go a waste if we don't take care of such kind of economic boosts. Secondly, US EPA is also stopping the enforcement of monitoring and reporting requirements of environmental protection for the companies for an indefinite period. What does this mean actually? US EPA is an agency which takes up reports from entire United Nations, all the industries, to provide their yearly, monthly data on emission standards, their monitoring equipments, and their reports, and how they are managing the environment. Now, if this has been stopped in an indefinite period, this may result in an outbreak of small-scale industries or large-scale industries, which till now may have been very silent in polluting the globe. So, so this is one of the aspects which needs to be dealt again. And if one country differs, similarly, same be taken by China also. So again, same emission standards will increase. There will be no enforcement of rules and regulations, resulting in quite a negative aspects of Kyoto Protocol. As I was saying, China has also temporarily suspended the environmental regulations. And as China would reopen its economy, the Chinese Ministry of Ecology and Environment has announced in mid-March that it would temporarily suspend the environmental standards for small businesses in order to accelerate the economic recovery. So, social point of view, it is a good initiative to develop small businesses so that they get a stand to develop and maintain their livelihood. But on a long term, if we see the impacts could be really harmful. Brazil has reduced the surveillance of the Amazon rainforest. These Amazon rainforests were in news because of the forest fires. But Amazon rainforests are also very famous for illegal logging and mining activities and any kind of wildfires that come up over there. And Amazon rainforests are like the lungs of the globe. So they take up a lot of emissions, absorb a lot of emissions from the globe. But if these kind of illegal logging has been reported from Amazon during the lockdown period, this was the reason because the surveillance was reduced. Now, since the surveillance was reduced, so it was difficult for any one of us to go and survey whether the things are going on in a proper manner. So this and almost similar kind of study was observed in Cambodia, Kenya, India, where there has been a rise in poaching activity. So the poachers have taken the benefit of a lack of surveillance during the period, and they have encroached into the forest areas for wildlife. Then all the international summits that were expected has also been postponed. For example, the international environmental summits such as the ocean biodiversity has been postponed. Now, ocean biodiversity rules and regulations were being framed this year to protect the oceans on the basis of two international conventions, which were the Bigamy Convention and the Basel Convention. So these the two important conventions that deal with the ocean biodiversity and dumping of waste into the oceans and small islands has now been postponed. UNFCCC were going to have a conference in Glasgow this year, which has also gone, and they were about to have a discussion on the sustainable developmental goals and how we tend to achieve them and the target that needs to be set. So they all have been, these all the conferences have been deferred, and thus maybe some policy initiative that we were expecting this year has now been on hold. Then one of the important aspects of mining was seabed mining, which was very important because we are shifting from renewable to non-renewable sources and more modern sources of energies. And in this aspect, seabed mining was a source for methane and other gasoline producing beds sources were identified. And all these rules and regulations of how much to be extracted from a specific patch has now been withheld. So a lot of things are at risk now. We have the economic stimulus program in almost all the countries. And what it says that there's a liberty to increase the emission by 10 to 20% for economic growth. So economic growth is resulting in emissions, and this emission is increasing by 10 to 20%. So these will have an effect, and as a result, the target of achieving the goals, sustainable developmental goals, Kyoto protocols, these all will be deferred now. So in the longer run, things may become a bit difficult actually. When we talk about environmental risk, animals are also equally at stake. And we observed a Malayan tiger being affected in a zoo in Malaysia. And similarly, a lot of pets were abandoned in Middle East region because they feared the spread of viruses. And third and most important aspect, which was observed largely in all the countries globally, was that most of the smaller zoos were not able to have that economic inputs. As a result, either they were selling off their animals or they were killing the smaller animals to feed the larger animals. So a lot of effects were observed in zoos too. So the overall impact is on the sustainability of biodiversity, these national parks that were harmed by poachers, or the zoos where these animals were harmed to protect the larger species. So a totality of negative aspects. When we talk about the green carbon footprinting, we also observe that the e-commerce industry has increased because most of our buying and selling is now online, and different platforms such as Amazon or Flipkarts or GeoMart and various other online platforms have increased their businesses, and so taking a toll upon the footprints that they have. And a lot of packaging waste is increasing now. The cardboards, the metallic fibers which wrap the wooden boards, cardboards are getting paper packages, then bubble sheets. The waste increase of different categories has increased now. So a different kind of waste which we need to tackle, which till now we were not much bothered about. But with this online packaging, now we need to take care of handling these kinds of waste too. And I think we all are aware of these pictures where plastic pollution has increased because of these PPEs or the personal protective equipments from the medical supply chain or from the users like us who are using it and throwing it without any considerations. So that rivers are now being observed with gloves, with masks, with sanitizer bottles. So a different category of waste now being found in the ecosystem. As a whole, if I see what are the different stress levels that we have observed. So during this entire sustainability focuses on environment and social aspects. So unless and until we have a balance between environment and economics, our sustainability will always be at stake. So now I'm focusing upon some issues of social distress, where we saw the migrant workers walking to larger distances all the way from Delhi, Haryana to Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, northeastern states, Uttar Pradesh, all the way from Maharashtra to Bihar and Jharkhand, all the way from Bangalore, Telangana to moving down to Jharkhand. So a very difficult situation where migrant workers lost their jobs, or they were they were forced to move from their workplace to domestic places at the time of crisis. And with all the trains, planes, buses, and local movements shut, they were forced to walk to larger distances. And I hope all of you remember the image of a person with a cycle and the sun sitting on it on its back on the backside of the bicycle. So such kind of social distress was observed largely in India and even in various regions of the United States. For example, I was seeing BBC where they were showing how the worker level people were forced to stay in and around a petrol pump in an open area entire 2 to 3 months. So different kinds of stresses across the globe with different challenges for each country, each region. Economic distress was also observed because of this lockdown. People have lost jobs. The economic monthly income has reduced. So some statistics that I have observed is mentioned over here, that the extension of the nationwide lockdown to May 3rd has an implication for our economic projections, which were calibrated on a lockdown during the last 3 weeks. We currently expect a contraction of Indian economy in second quarter, starting from April, by minus 8.7%. So there has been a reduction in the economy by 8.7%, and it goes as high as with export levels to minus 24%. So a lot of economic deferment and was observed, and the economic growth came up to 1.2%, for very low, as expected to be around 7 to 8%. So RBI has also cut down certain policy points. So we have different initiatives which is moving upon. And among the social aspects of sustainability, one of the most important aspects are our futures, because when we talk about sustainability, we have to take care of our future generations. And I feel that the children at large are on stake. They were happy initially to be exposed to the new gadgets and interacting with their friends over telephone, over mobile phones. But I think most of us as parents will be observing a kind of distress they are showing. These psychological impacts on the children will affect their sustainability in a longer term, or maybe in some cases, even in a shorter term. For instance, children are becoming irritable. They are all the way occupied with their mobile phones. Even after their online classes, they stick to their mobile phones for either a homework or chatting with their friends. And overall, what I observed specifically in my daughter, that was like maybe she's now comfortable staying at home. Maybe she's not willing to move out of the house now. So maybe that specific thing might have been observed with many other kids. And it's very difficult. Like we like people to move around as a social being. We like interacting. But if these things prolong, So are we somehow kind of restricting our hormones to control or confine ourselves to one single place and living in a single and isolated surroundings? So a lot of psychological distress around the world. And apart from psychological distress, one thing which affects almost all of us is the technological distress. All what happened just now in the lecture was when I was delivering, the internet was off and my mic was muted. So such kind of challenges we are facing every day. And since we all belong to the same community and we have dealt with students, so I think it becomes very difficult to actually handle the students in this time when you have some technological distress going on. Network errors, sudden drop in the towers. So a lot of mental health resulting in mental stress. For instance, today in the first half, when I was not able to log in into Zoom, I was having a kind of nervousness and panicking a bit. So maybe such things may happen in many other cases. So because whenever we are dealing with some kind of interaction, it should go smooth. So with that perspective, like I personally get quite uncomfortable. And even UNICEF has reported that online classes are not very feasible because there is a lack of internet connections and children exposed to aspects of academic through it's not very suitable for the children. So a lot of issues coming up. As we have shown in our lockdown period, we have sort of spread also period. For example, various social religious groups have come up and they have joined the government to provide food to the needy. Some of the very important aspects of our solidarity towards our nation, towards our people, and this has been like everyone has really appreciated this. And apart from these, individually, many of us are involved in donations, like we donate to people who are in need. And apart from the Pradhan Mantri Yojana, where our salary was deducted for one day for this COVID issues, but apart from that, also people have donated for the social causes. So these are our strengths that we have realized, like how many ways we might be diversified, but when it comes to tackling a universal problem, we all come together as human beings to address such issues. We also have NGOs providing groceries to elderly people, to the poor people, like what is shown in here. And this is even in Ranchi, I observed a similar kind of thing near Big Bazaar, main road, near Raj Sweets, where I saw a flock of poor people surrounded and a few people giving the food on a daily basis to them. So very good initiative which showed our human strength even in the time of crisis. And even as individuals, we saw various leaders coming up. I'm not here to proclaim or say anything positive about Sonu Sood, but I think his behavior was appreciated at large with everyone across India, where he helped many migrant workers to get home. So such initiatives have been taken up, and maybe many more people will come up gradually when they see such good examples around us. And as an aspect of policies, we also saw some very good strength systems which were supporting during the lockdown, where the Roti Bank scheme, where chapati and small vegetable were provided by different governmental schemes. Then we also have the Prime Minister Relief Fund. Then RBI's initiatives on reduction of the loans, so that was also initiated. So if because of salary reduction or deduction, if you are not able to pay the loans, then you can just have a waiver of the loans for 3 to 4 months. although after the initiated back, the interest rates will vary, but at least for the time of crisis, things have got down. We also saw some positive aspects and also negative aspects pertaining to education fee waiver, where as parents, some of the parents got a waiver on their education systems, but we also saw a negative aspects where people who were willing to pay higher were also not paying the fees, and thus resulting in the entire education system to collapse in some cases. Examinations were cancelled, which was also a very good initiative taken up by UGC, so that the students who are spread across the country at different internet level, the problems of having an examination, and maybe but this also had a positive aspect, because in my case there were certain students who were not who were around 60 to 70%, but because of this examination getting cancelled and PPT based presentations, they also achieved good marks, resulting in an increase in their overall percentage. So many aspects coming up. Medical and quarantine support system was very active. And for instance, if you are moving coming from a different city or town or state, so you are given option to join either the government quarantine system or you can go for a paid quarantine system. So in large cities, some hotels have come up where people who are willing to pay higher amount may be moved into such hotels, so that they may be not into the same system where beds are aside each other and more harm may be caused. Even travel and movement support system was provided by the government of Jharkhand, for instance, when they are helping people to move from different cities to come back to Jharkhand, or by the Indian government to bring back the NRIs or the Indian workers who are working abroad and their family members to come to back to India. Some good initiatives, and the emergency support system like that of a police or hospitals, which were running all the way 24/7. They were helping us. The banking system, which were working thoroughly even in this lockdown. Now we see the implications of such things when even the police stations are being locked down, the doctors are getting affected. But on a large, I think everyone will agree that we don't have one single statement or one single policy which will be suitable and best. Everything will have pros and cons. So we have to understand that making just one single initiative doesn't mean it is a solution to everything. But maybe a balance of things has to be understood. What are our weaknesses? Implementation of schemes at large has been a major question mark. And this is not only for the COVID scenario, but all the way from 1974, when our first legislation of Water Act was initiated. Since then, multiple policies and rules and regulations have come up in India, but the implementation has been always a question. Like at what level the things are being implemented. At times, these rules and regulations are also very flexible. Like we stick word by word to rules for the industries where we don't have any personal interest, and on the other hand, we also favor certain industries. So a lot of implementations of the schemes also vary a lot with our personal associations. Then we also observe the pelting of stones on the emergency support systems. For example, doctors or police services. So those are some of the weaknesses. The non-compliance by public was largely observed. If you see people are moving around without masks, without observing the social distancing norms, they're not using sanitizers. So I think many non-compliances has been observed by the public. And I think the entire scenario of COVID-19, 20, or maybe I don't know if it goes to 21, but the whole implication is largely on the public. People like us who are commuting daily, who are moving around, whether we are taking care of putting up the masks, whether we take up the social distancing norms, how well protected we are. So I would like to conclude that some of the major weakness is only in our behaviors. So behavioral issues, if tackled properly or addressed properly, will result in more sustainability of the environment and society, which will actually benefit the livelihood and economics, because the sooner we try to understand that we have to comply, the better and more easily things can be improvised. So what could be the way forward? Like as the cases are on rise, we need to stick to the compliance and the social norms, and we have to comply with the environmental norms also. So I will not, I don't justify that if giving liberties on the emission standards or reducing the vehicular emission standards is a solution at large, but actually it is a loophole in the system which will result and affect the environment next 2 or 3 years, and or in fact, maybe even sooner. And realization to live within normal and within minimal is the way forward. We have lived our lives very lavishly, and we love to spend. Spending also boosts economy, but I think this lockdown also made us realize that we could survive within normal and minimal things. And we also, the most important aspect was it is an attempt to bring nature close to the society. So if scenarios go on, maybe we'll be able to see much better association of nature with society. So it is a multi-level mental feeding that needs to be conducted over here. What I mean by multiple level mental feeding is, for example, if you remember when the lockdown began, every day every 20 minutes, the television used to broadcast an ad showing that we need to wash our hands. So that's a multiple level of mental feeding that kept on going in the radios as well as in the news in the television sets. So such kind of mental feeding even now has to be done when things are trying to become normal for economic growth, but because of the social issues and social non-compliance of social distancing, maybe we go again into a lockdown, which will again affect the whole cycle. So I think this multiple level of feeding has to be done on us. Only then we are going to understand and realize the importance. So as I initially shared one slide where I thought maybe you will be interested to share your own perspectives and thoughts and initiatives through Zoom chat. Maybe you're free to share that, or maybe you can speak if it is permitted by the organizers. So this I conclude my talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
I
Dr.
thank
Avishek.
again Nirmala College. Thank you so much.
We do have a few. Can you see the chat box, Mr. Avishek?
One second, let me just.
Chat box is. I have opened it up for you also to view if you can.
Yes.
Participants have shared some of their views, and they have also posted some of their questions for you. If you would like to take some of them.
Yeah, of course. The first comment was from Dr. Santosh Patra. My suggestion is to penalize the real estate developers in the form of heavy tax to compensate the environmental degradation. Well, this is quite understood, but the thing is, um, maybe at this time of crisis, penalizing is not always the best solution, because everyone is facing a lot of distress, and finance is something which is core to each one of us. Like if our salary is stopped, so we all will get affected by it. So somehow, each of the people from the industries have also being affected by this lockdown. So maybe not penalizing them, but making them realize the importance of environment. That is more important. Because under every scenario, being a teacher, I will never want my student to get penalized because they get less marks or they were cheating while they were presenting. I would not like that. But they need to understand that this is the new way of living, and we have to understand, like, to be honest to our own self. Next question is very informative. Nature has rejuvenated. Okay, thank you. All the sessions are informative. And the background, region, and sectors of the economy have fared better during the crisis. Yes, this is also a very interesting aspect that has been shared by Jyoti Pandey, that the backward regions and the sectors of the economy has fared better during the crisis. Yeah, maybe if she can give some insight on this, maybe I will also hear to what her ideas are. Jyoti Pandey.
Let me unmute her.
Okay.
Dr. Jyoti Pandey, would you like to interact with our speaker? Kindly unmute yourself.
Yes. I noticed that those regions which are relatively backward in our country, they have fared better in the COVID, and even agricultural sector, which has been slower than the other sectors, primary, that has fared relatively better during the COVID.
Do you want to say, like, with respect to economy, or
with respect to economy as well as with coping with this situation?
Yeah, I think most of the people who so-called come from the backward regions, they have the strength to cope up with the difficulties. Like whether in India, if you call Jharkhand, or whether in the globe you call Indians. So we all have the same strengths to cope up with the difficulties. So globally, if you see, Indians are far better off, and in India, if you see, Jharkhandis are more better off.
Maybe their consumption levels are also lower to make them more sustainable.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. The next one, I think, from Sukanya Chakravarti, she says, post-COVID, how do we maintain the environmental standards this period at individual level is an issue to be raised. Simple steps to be followed by all has to be implemented from grassroots level. Well, of course, like emission standards and whatever our contribution or each individual human footprints, we need to reduce them. And as an individual, also our footprint reduced during the COVID-19 scenario, during the lockdown. All of us, all the footprints got reduced. So it's not only the legislation, the rules and regulations, but in totality, each one of us are responsible for our society and environment and sustainability. So it's a quite an interesting point that we all need to do better. What is a Ramsar site? Okay, Dr. Patra, Ramsar site are wetland sites which have been identified under the Ramsar Convention in Iran, and they have identified wetlands as not wastelands, but as water resources which are useful for multiple aspects such as flood control, water level increase. So they have designated specific Ramsar sites in each country. For instance, in Jharkhand, we don't have any specific Ramsar site, but in Uttar Pradesh, we have Nawabganj wetlands, which has been included in 2020. These are large wetlands. Then in Chandigarh, there is Harika wetlands, which has been identified. So we follow two different levels of wetlands in India. One is the Ramsar wetlands and one is the Secon wetlands. Secon wetlands is Society for Ornithology and something from Kerala. So two different aspects of wetlands have been identified. So if you go by Secon classification of wetlands, then Jharkhand has 5 or 6 wetlands according to Secon, where bird species, migratory birds are coming. But according to Ramsar, till none of the wetlands has been included as a Ramsar site. Your next one is how rice cultivation increases the greenhouse gases. Well, rice cultivation is basically a paddy field. And every paddy field, the emissions is related to methane. So a smaller quantities of methane is increasing with every paddy field that we have. But the contribution of methane is very small when compared to carbon dioxide. And so it's okay since we are balancing it with the agricultural aspect. Paddy field cannot be removed. So in that aspect, it is compensating that at least there is one positive aspect of paddy fields that we are giving in agricultural output.
We have a next question from Dr. Debjani Roy, Dr. Avishek.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. She like much as we need the PPE, don't you think it is generating a lot of non-biodegradable waste? What is your take on this issue? We need PPE kits, that's obvious. The thing is, it's only how we're handling. We are throwing the waste, and that is our problem. So the way of handling and disposal of these waste is the question mark, which has to be raised on each individual of us. So the moment we finish with our PPEs, so we just dispose them off. So handling is an issue, and so we cannot deny PPEs. The next question is from Dhanalakshmi Patnaik from Orissa. As a presentation, how can you make a comparison regarding sustainability of environment between developed and developing countries? Well, with this, there's a lot of things with developed and developing countries. If we talk about developed countries like US, Japan, developing emerging economies like India, China, and these developing countries, for example, around us, we have Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. Now, if we compare their sustainability, we have different perspective. For example, Japan is a country which is developed, and their percentage of economics for green growth is much higher. They are spending around 21% of their economic growth only on environmental sustainability. On the contrary, countries like US, which is developed equally, but they still spend only 10 to 11% of the economy on green growth. So different, like it's also on the social behavior, how satisfied you feel with the development and how much developed you feel is developing. You know, kitna, like, what do you say, like, कितना पैसा होना चाहिए कि मैं सोचूं कि I am अमीर. That's an endless thing. Environmental sustainability is also an endless thing. So we need to understand that aspect. And when I compare with emerging economies like India and China, so we are developing and we take advantage of that aspect also. Like both the India or China, both of us are equally developed, but we still try to be in the development so that we get the funds from the World Bank. So very, very interesting aspects of getting funds. The day you get into the developed sectors, you have to provide funds. So then it's better to be in the developing sectors. And the least developing countries like Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, they are still in a verge of developing their industrial sectors. But for instance, Bangladesh entire economy is also dependent on India. They are entirely facing the pollution crisis from Ganges. The fishery sector is getting affected because of India. So all the wastewater that we are discharging is connected through a river ecosystem. That's the mangrove ecosystems of Bengal, of Bangladesh. So entire Ilish fish, which is very popular, that gets affected by the specific waste discharges. So almost in an interlinking aspect of sustainability, but how much developed we need to be to understand that we are developed is also a question mark. Then we have one, domestic violence too has increased. What is your take for the future sustainable? Okay, domestic violence has increased. Very good, but this is not hidden. I think domestic violence was always there within the family. Maybe because this lockdown, the differences have come up, and maybe because people are able to understand the differences. But on the other hand, I also see couples being happy because of this lockdown. That some happiness factors are also increased. So if you see those couples who were not able to spend time together, they got time to spend together. So it is all a personal perspective, how you handle violence or anger, intolerance. So I cannot just say that this is wrong. Lockdown also showed positive aspects of family reunions, the parents sitting together, having tea, eating together, which was missing. So some way this has to be balanced. Obviously, like I will never agree to domestic violence. That is completely wrong. But I think individual behavioral changes, which I showed in the last two slides, are the important points. Will this pandemic lower the use of dirty technology in manufacturing and production outsourcing to developing countries and most of all in China? I don't think so. I don't think so that the pandemic will affect the industry, especially with respect to China, because I have stayed in China for 2 years and they are very secretive in any of their developmental strategies. And I don't think so that this is going to happen in China at least. Of course, but some of the countries, I think in Europe, people may come out with more sustainable solutions, and maybe those are taken up by India also, because compared to China, we are not so evil, and I think somewhere we tend to lose hope at times, but I think Indians have a lot of strength in bringing back the whole system to original. The next is from Kailash Diwan. Sir, do you think COVID less disguise perspective? But my question is how sustainability can be preserved as there is software. It is a blessing in disguise, no doubt. Many aspects of sustainability has come, but as I said, we need to have a balance. Like how much sustainability we have. If we just behind environmental sustainability, maybe economics will be worse, and then we will be questioning on our livelihoods. So a balance is required. How much destruction of forest has to be done? How much logging of wood has to be done in a sustainable manner? Are we planning for reforestation or afforestation practices? Do we have any development of watershed management practices? So a balance is always required. Do you think the state came last in helping the poor? That state has given up its welfareism. Which state are you talking about? Jharkhand, Vidya.
Dr. Avishek, are you there? I feel he is disconnected once again. Dr. Avishek. Dr. Avishek, kindly unmute yourself.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are audible now. Hello, Dr. Avishek. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I can hear you. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible now. Yeah. There are a couple of more questions, then we can wind up the session. Just 2 more questions. Should I read them out to you? Would that be comfortable?
Yeah, please. I think because of this.
Yes. Let me read that out for you. So the next question is from Vidya Shankar Vibhuti. Don't you think that state came last in helping poor? State has given up its welfareism.
I want.
Vidya Shankar, if you can, Mr. Vidya Shankar, if you can tell us from which state to which state you belong to. I don't think. I think it is a general question, Dr. Avishek.
Okay. No, I don't think so. The state came last. It all depends on the necessity of taking actions. We have a habit of answering things only when it comes and catches hold of your neck. So it's not about taking last stand, because if we take a first stand, and that, like, for example, if Jharkhand takes a stand in the month of March itself, so we may be answering something different. Some scenarios may be very difficult. For example, workers or migrants were told to come, were asked to come inside the state in the month of May end, or maybe in June first week, or maybe in June. So we are trying to blame that why now, when things were getting normalized, why they were brought now, and so the infection has again started. But if we need to understand, in the month of March, if those migrant workers were asked to come back home, when we were not ready to be equipped with suitable thermometers or masks or sanitizers or hospitals or COVID centers or quarantine centers. And if at that time they came and they went back home affected, it would have been very difficult to actually understand in which village who is affected. And then things would have been even worse. At least now we know when they are coming, they're coming down to Hatia station. There is a chain of tents put up where they're getting monitored. And if they are having some symptoms, so they are sent to the hospitals or the quarantine centers. But again, if the same scenario might have happened in the month of May, we were in the month of March, we were unequipped at that time. So I will not say it's a late decision, but I think everything has to be done based on the facilities we have. It took time for our facilities to generate. So that's my take on this. What was the next question?
The next question is from Paramita Ghosh. What are the impacts of COVID-19 on slums, as it is a part of the urban environment?
Dharavi was most interesting case, which is the largest slum of Asia. And if you see, the social aspects were quite problematic in that area in Dharavi, and a lot of cases came up initially, but with the proper what do you call it, blocking and quarantining it, things have got down now. In fact, in today's paper, I was reading that Dharavi can be taken up as a very good example of how staying together could also be very things could be controlled even for COVID. So I think some cases came up in Dharavi, but now things are under control and they are off the charts. So I think we have solutions. So, but how Bombay or Maharashtra has taken up those actions need to be understood, which I'm not very aware of, like what actions were taken in Dharavi.
Taking up the last question on the chat that I can see here is from Dr. Santosh Patra. Whether COVID-19 situation is a resilient measure of nature to warn human population its gravitas.
Of course, I will always agree to this statement. We all have realized the negative aspects of how much we have destroyed our ecosystems. And we have also realized the positive aspects of benefits of our ecosystem during this lockdown. So it is a way nature has made us, given us an alarm system to realize and move forward. Of course, I agree to what you're saying.
That's a statement that we all would agree to.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Avishek.
Thank you
so much. Thank you so much. It was a very informative session and interactive session of all. And thank you for presenting a comprehensive, positive and negative view on the environment, on the impacts of the environment, socio-economic, psychological distress that the pandemic has imposed on us. So keeping in mind the positive initiatives that has already been taken on personal, social or political level, we have to continue to be responsible individuals, as solutions to ensure a long-term sustainability lies in our own hands. So just to, if we would like to seek a way forward in this case, in post-COVID situation, in post-COVID scenario, we have to strictly comply to the social norms, as you said, comply to the environmental norms, realize to live within normal or minimal attempts, and we can take attempts to bring nature close to the society. So thank you so much, Dr. Avishek, for such an enlightening session. It was really very informative for all of us. And with this, on behalf of IQSC and entire Nirmala College, we thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share my ideas. Again, I thank the entire Nirmala College fraternity and Sister Jyoti and Dr. Emma for contacting me. So thank you so much.
Thank you. May I now request our esteemed IQSC coordinator, Dr. Emma Seraphim, to present a brief report of the 3-day faculty enrichment program. Kindly unmute yourself, Dr. Emma.
Thank you, Dr. Srirupa. Respected Principal and Chairperson of IQAC Nirmala College, Dr. Sister Jyoti. Respected Vice Principal, Sister Shobha. Respected NAC and CPE Coordinator, Dr. Devjani Roy. Our respected resource person, Dr. Kirti Avishek. Dear IQAC members, Dr. Rashmimala Sahu, Dr. Jyoti Prasad, Dr. Afrinul Khan, Dr. Indu Kumari, Dr. Shrirupa Roy, and my dear participants, warm greetings to you all. On behalf of the Internal Quality Assurance Cell, IQAC of Nirmala College, I am honored to present the report on the 3-day online faculty enrichment program on COVID-19, life beyond, challenges and issues. This FAP is sponsored by UGC CPE scheme and was held from 10th July 2020 to 12th July 2020. This faculty enrichment program is in fact the brainchild of our dynamic principal, Dr. Sister Jyoti. It is her support and motivation that has made this online FAP a success. Our faculty enrichment program has witnessed 223 faculties as participants. We had faculties from neighboring states too. They are from Bihar, West Bengal, Orissa, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Goa. Altogether, 6 online sessions took place in 3 days. The first session on 10th July 2020 was on the pandemic, the XX chromosome, and the new normal by Dr. Shreya Bhattacharjee, Associate Professor, Department of English Studies, Central University of Jharkhand, Ranchi. The second session on the same day was on the topic Alternative Teaching Learning Techniques by Dr. Hemborkar, Associate Professor, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. On 11th July 2020, we had with us Dr. Amrit Patu Joshi, Professor and Consultant, Neuropsychiatrist, High-Tech Medical College and Hospital, Bhubaneswar. His topic was Psychological Well-Being. In the second session on 11th July, we had Mr. Niranjan Kushwaha, Network and Security Admin JAP IT, Jharkhand. He talked about cyber awareness in digital platform. Session 5th on 12th July had Dr. Ankita Permanik, Associate Professor, Department of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering, IST, Shibpur, Kolkata, who presented on the topic COVID-19 Research and Innovation, Breaking Myth. Our concluding session, that is the 6th session on 12th July, had Dr. Kirti Abhishek, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil and Environment Engineering, BIT Mesra, Ranchi. He talked about COVID-19, environmental challenges, and sustainability. Thus, our faculty enrichment program has topics touching every aspect of life, right from physical and mental health to environment. I'm sure that this FAP has a fruitful effect, and we are taking some real good knowledge about COVID-19 pandemic that will keep us safe, not only us, but our environment too, safe and sound. Now, with immense love and gratitude, I thank our principal and chairperson IQAC Nirmala College, Dr. Sister Jyoti, and request her to organize many more such events. Thank you, one and all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Emma. It is my privilege to invite now our patron for the 3-day faculty enrichment program, our Honorable Principal and Chairperson IQSE, to say a few words to mark the closing ceremony of this 3-day faculty enrichment program.
Thank you, Dr. Srirupa. A very good evening to one and all. Respected Sister Shobha, Vice Principal, Nirmala College, Ranchi, esteemed resource person of the 6th session and the final session of a 3-day faculty enrichment program, Dr. Kirti Avishek, Coordinator IQAC, Dr. Emma Rani Seraphim, Coordinator CPE, Dr. Debjani Roy, host and moderator of this 3-day faculty enrichment program, Dr. Srirupa Roy, members of IQAC, the organizers of 3-day faculty enrichment program, respected HODs of various departments and faculty members of Nirmala College, Ranchi, all dignitaries from far and wide, and all dear participants. First of all, I thank the Almighty for showering His blessings during these 3 grace-filled days through various people and through various things, very specially for giving us the support of good network connectivity. I feel overwhelmed to state that a 3-day faculty enrichment program organized by IQSC team Nirmala College Ranchi, affiliated to Ranchi University Ranchi, a college with potential for excellence, accredited by NAC with grade A, has been a great success. So far, we have been organizing faculty enrichment program at institutional level biannually, that is, before starting the new academic session and the new year. But due to COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent lockdowns, we have been forced to find new, innovative, and creative ideas, methods, and I feel that has enabled us to connect many academicians and faculty members across the nation through this virtual platform for the fruitful deliberations on the topic COVID-19 and life beyond, challenges and issues. There is no doubt that all the resource persons have contributed their knowledge bank with us to enhance our knowledge and have enriched us and enabled us to carry out our life beyond with renewed vigor. Nirmala College constantly strives towards empowering the students too by imparting skill-based programs. Very shortly, we will be having skill enhancement program, that is GIS, GPS, remote sensing for students for all faculty in collaboration with BIT Meshra Ranchi. It is my proud privilege to place on record my heartiest congratulations to the organizers, the IQSC and CPE team, Nirmala College Ranchi, for their commendable efforts and commitment to bring the entire Nirmala fraternity and others from far and wide for the fruitful deliberations on the relevant topic. I also express my deep gratitude to the speakers of all 6 sessions, for accepting our invitation to become part of Nirmala College, Ranchi. I extend my special thanks and congratulations to the host and the moderator, Dr. Sri Rupa Roy, for hosting the entire episode successfully. I firmly believe that this faculty enrichment program has proved to be a genuine platform for making us feel united, keeping our motto aligned, one heart, one mind. So to say, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. We gratefully acknowledge UGC for granting us CPE scheme to our college, the single recipient of the state Jharkhand during the 12th five-year plan. A big thanks and congratulations to all the participants for being part of this event. May God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sister, for your words of appreciation. It means a lot to all of us, and it encourages us to move forward with many more initiatives like this. Thank you so much. As Confucius said, what I hear, I forget. What I see, I remember. What I do, I understand. Over the past 3 days, we have heard what we have to do. We have seen what we need to do. Now is the time to do it. And together we can. We need to just step out of this gray twilight into the bright sunshine so that we can all see the dawn of a new day. Let's do it together. With all my heart, I express my sincere gratitude to our honorable principal for the idea and inception of this program and providing us a platform to enrich ourselves for performing better, for her constant efforts and encouragements in our progress towards excellence. Thank you, sister. Expressing my deepest gratitude to all the respected members of our IQSC team, Dr. Emma, Dr. Devjani, Dr. Rashmi Mala, Dr. Jyoti Prasad, Dr. Afreen, Dr. Indu, for planning and arranging this event so meticulously and for their continuous guidance in successfully conducting this event. Sincere thanks to all our faculty members of Nirmala College for your support in resonating the true spirit of our Nirmala College, that is one heart, one mind. Expressing my heartfelt gratitude to our highly esteemed dignitaries from various colleges and universities for being a part of this event. Wishing you all the best for a great future ahead. Thank you, everyone. With this, we'll conclude the session with National Anthem. Let us now rise for it.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उत्कल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
Thank you, everyone. Thank you once again. With your permission, sister, we would now like to conclude this session.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Avishek. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.